Hey there, it's Kat and this is Brews and Reviews. Welcome to the end of the decade book tag. So I was having a little think the other day and I realised that December is not only the end of 2019, it's actually the end of a decade. And it got me thinking, I wonder how much my reading has changed from 2010 all the way to 2019. Because 10 years is a long time and I feel like a lot of things reading-wise has sort of happened with me, and I'm really curious as to how everyone else's reading tastes have changed in that time as well. So I thought I'd create this tag and basically, we can figure out how much our reading tastes have changed in that time. So the way that this tag is going to work is that we're going to split the decade into 3 different time periods: 2010 to 2013, 2014 to 2016, and 2017 to 2019. And then we're going to ask the same 5 questions for each of those time periods. And then we're going to compare, because that's what we do. If you guys want to do this tag, I will leave the questions down in the description below so you don't have to just listen to me talk and then try and get them from that. So we're going to take 2010 to 2013 first. Question 1. How much did you read? Well, I actually read quite a lot back in 2010 to 2013. I was still in 6th form and then my first 2 years at uni, so I read a lot. I still had a lot of time to do a lot of different things. Reading's always been my passion, so I was like, yeah, I can do loads of reading while I'm doing like English coursework, so I was reading for school as well. But yeah, I read a lot. Question 2, what genre did you read the most? Okay, so that time period was very definitely my dystopian phase. It was post-Twilight, into the Hunger Games, and then I like the Maze Runner, that sort of thing. I was definitely getting in on that, and I was enjoying my YA life, and that was where I was with that. So yeah, dystopian with a little bit of fantasy, because I mean fantasy never goes away, but you know, I thought. Question number 3, what were your favourite books and authors? So my favourite book, as ever, remains Legend. I read that when I was 13 and it still remains my favourite book of all time, so that hasn't changed. But otherwise, I was super into the Hunger Games, I love Wicked Lovely, I love the Magician's Guild, Harry Potter. I was still like hardcore Harry Potter fan. And my favourite authors were David Gemmell, Terry Goodkind, who I had yet to learn was problematic. He's problematic. And J.K. Rowling. Again, anything that J.K. Rowling would put out in that time period, I was like, oh my god, I need it! J.K. Rowling! Yeah. Question number 4, is there a book that you wish you'd read? Okay, so I don't know if this book series was out then, and I don't think it was, but if it was out during that time period, at that age that I was, I really would have loved to have read the Heroes of Olympus series, because I was definitely more involved, and I think me being younger, I would have appreciated that series far more, and I would have enjoyed it a lot more. So I wish I'd had the chance to read that series when I was however young. I was like, what, 17, 18? Yeah, I would have liked it a lot more, I think. But yeah, no, god, now I feel old. Question number 5, do you have any regrets about your reading during that time period? Not really. I did enjoy what I was reading. I had a good time reading. I think looking back on it, I probably could have done fewer rereads and could have sort of opened myself up a little bit more. So I still had a good time reading, just didn't really venture out into new waters. I think I reread Harry Potter a lot. So now we're moving into 2014 to 2016, and we will label this my problematic period, because I had a time with reading. But let me just answer the questions and you'll see why. Question number 1, how much did you read? Barely anything at all for 3 years. Yeah. I basically went into a gigantic reading slump, which I think stemmed from the time when I read Allegiant and I was like, ugh. And I just didn't want to pick anything else up. And I mean, I really didn't. I was totally not myself. I didn't want to read, I didn't want to write during that time, and I did a whole lot of other things, and it was weird. It was a weird time for me. Yeah. Question number 2, what genre did you read the most? Honestly, I didn't really read very much of anything. There was fantasy. I did a bit like rereading Harry Potter and stuff like that. But it was a time period where I tried to start something new. Like towards the tail end of 2016, I actually started to pick up some thrillers. And that was a new genre for me, and I started to really enjoy them. But I only picked them up sparingly. A couple here, a couple there. Didn't really get that invested in them, because they were sort of something that I could just pick up, read it, put it down, sort of forget about it, and it was done. Question number 3, what were your favourite books and authors? David Gemmell, J.K. Rowling. I started to pick up Patricia Cornwell, and yeah, those are pretty much the people that I read. Question number 4. Is there a book you wish you'd read during that time period? So many books. So many books. I start to think, if I'd read some of the books that I read slightly later, would I have gotten out of my reading slump earlier? Probably. Or, conversely, would I have hated those books because I read them when I was in this giant book slump? Like, that doesn't even bear thinking about. But if I could have read books that would have snapped me out of the reading slump, I would have liked to have read something like Red Rising, Illuminae, Mistborn. There are so many that I could have read at that time period that I feel like would have helped, but I don't know. I got there eventually, so it happens. Question number 5. Do you have any regrets about your reading during that time period? Yes, I should have read more. To be honest, my only regret really is that I didn't try harder to get myself out of my reading slump, because I feel like I could have tried harder and I would have come back to reading a lot sooner, but I just didn't. So now we're on to 2017 to 2019, and we'll call this my redemption period because, boy, things took a turn. Question number 1, how much did you read? Well, the average is about 100 books. In 2017, I think I read about 70 something or other, and then I read over 100 for the next 2 years. Honestly, I really got back into reading and it was here to stay. So that really, really turned around. I read a lot of different things and I am really happy about it. What genre did you read the most? Probably sci-fi or fantasy, probably a mixture of both of them, with thrillers in as like a third option on that list. But yeah, I was really into sci-fi and I've been really into fantasy as well, and I'm really enjoying reading different things in those genres as well as just other random genres peppered around here and there. I'm not really restricting myself as much since I've come back into redemption period. Question number 3, what were your favourite books and authors? Obviously David Gemmell, he remains number 1, but so many other authors. Piers Brown, I would literally read anything that man writes, except I am not reading Iron Gold and Dark Age until the 3rd one comes out, because no, you can't fool me again. Jay Kristoff, whom I love. Leigh Bardugo. Oh, there's just so many people that I have found and just really, really have enjoyed reading. And yeah, there's a lot of books in there. Most of those authors wrote the series that I really love, like Illuminae, Red Rising, all those sort of things. I'm having a good time. Question number 4, is there a book you wish you'd read? Yeah, I think I would have liked to have read The Raven Boys. I would have liked to have gotten through that series. I read the first book in the series, but then I was like, I want to read it physically, I want to go back and I want to do the whole series. And I didn't do that. And I wish I had, because it seems like one of those ones that everybody seems to love, and it's like a booktube favourite, and yeah, I just wish I'd read it, and I haven't yet, so next year, next decade. And question number 5, do you have any regrets about your reading during that time period? Not really. I mean, I definitely think I've opened up to a lot of different things. I think maybe if I was going to say anything, then I'd probably say read the series as a whole rather than just reading the first book and then having to come back and reread the first book again because you've forgotten what happens when you want to read the rest of it. But that's really it. I'm not sad about what I'm reading. I've been reading a lot of really good books like over the past couple of years, and I think my reading's been taking a really good turn, so yeah, I'm kind of happy about it. So now we've gone through the different time periods in the decade, it's time to compare our answers, and I have 2 final questions. One is, when did you find BookTube? So the answer for that one for me is actually the end of 2016. So I started watching BookTube around then, and guess what? My reading took a turn up. So if that's an indicator of what BookTube does, then that's a good indicator, but that's what it did for me at least. And the last question is, how do you think your reading has changed over the last decade? Well, I still love David Gemmell. He's still my favourite of all time. I still love Legend. I still love dystopians and books about murder. That's apparently never going to change. But I think the thing that has changed for me is that I am so much more open. There are so many different books, so many different genres that I would never have tried when I was younger. I just kept rereading the same books and being like, yeah, whatever, I don't want to read that or anything like that. But now I hear someone talk about a book and I can hear something interesting in it. I'm like, I'll give it a go. Why not? And it hasn't taken me down a bad path. I am really happy with where my reading has gone from back in 2010 to the weird downward slump that I took, and it's definitely come right back up again, and I'm really excited for the next decade, and hopefully my reading tastes will only go even higher and I'll be enjoying more of my reads. And yeah, so I feel like my reading took a positive turn, and I hope yours have done the same. So I actually put a post on Twitter asking who'd like to be tagged in this video, and I will leave all of your usernames down below so you guys are officially tagged, and anyone else who wants to do this tag, you are tagged too. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!